The New Jersey Devils are set for a dramatic Game 7 against the New York Rangers. In the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils joins us to discuss that and how the Devils got here. All that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to get the latest episodes as they drop. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On New Jersey Devils, Trey Matthews. And Trey, big game coming up Monday night. Season on the line, Game 7, Devils, New York Rangers. What is the mood around this team as they head into this pressure-packed Game 7?
You know, I think Eric Haula has been saying it best, which is backs have been against the wall, and obviously a lot of people were writing off the Devils throughout the course of the year, but the Devils didn't let that faze them. So Eric Haula has been a great veteran leader in the locker room for New Jersey Devils, and towards the end of it, he's been getting a lot of scoring chances and scoring a lot of goals as a result. So he's just saying, like, look, it doesn't matter what the history says about the New York Rangers. You just got to focus on what's in the locker room right now. And why not? Let's prove a lot of people wrong. In the words of Nico Hischier, when I spoke to him not too long ago, he said, like, we just focus on what's in our locker room. And why not? Let's prove everyone wrong.
Yeah, and look, we couldn't talk about this series without mentioning Akira Schmid. Talk to me about him, because he has just been spectacular in this series and, you know, really sort of spurred this team's turnaround.
Absolutely. So I think you speak for a lot of people, Gil, when you say he's been spectacular in the series. Well, the thing is, Devils fans have known how spectacular he has been, because during the course of the regular season, Mackenzie Blackwood has been injured not once, but twice, and out for an extended period of time. So Akira Schmid was sort of thrusted back into the role to help out Vitek Vanecek. Now, here's the thing. Akira Schmid got a few starts last year, but they didn't go well at all. In fact, his stats were abysmal, and our best goalie last year was Nico Dawes. But focusing on this year, Akira Schmid has surprised me. He surprised a lot of people, and throughout the course of the year, he's just been making grade A saves after grade A saves. And the fact that he's been so reliable, and that the New Jersey Devils can really turn to him when they have their backs against the walls, or if they're in a situation and they need some sort of spark. Akira Schmid has been that and more, and he's such a nice guy too. Like, sometimes he admits he does get a little nervous in big game situations, but he's 22 years of age. He's not supposed to even be in this situation. It was supposed to be Mackenzie Blackwood, but he blew his chances come the end of the year. But Akira Schmid, he's just been phenomenal in this series, and if the Devils hold on to win Game 7, he is my MVP for this series, just because the Devils were down 0-2. They needed a lot of stops, and Akira Schmid was able to do that in Game 3. Game 4, he was able to improve. And then Game 5, it's just been a whirlwind, because Game 5, he was able to get a shutout, his first career postseason shutout. And thus the Devils led 3-2. Obviously, the last game didn't go as planned, and he was subbed out for Vitek Vanecek. But at the end of the day, I think Lindy Ruff is going to turn to Akira Schmid to be the starter for Game 7, because he's been so vital in this series. And when you just look at things that have gone right for New Jersey Devils in this series, or some positive light, you have to look at Akira Schmid. So once again, when the series is over, Akira Schmid is my MVP, just because of what he's been able to do in net for New Jersey Devils, and just turn this season around and give the Devils some new life, especially in that pivotal Game 3.
You know, this is a young Devils team, not a lot of players with extensive playoff experience. Who has really taken to the playoff pressure the best among these young players in your mind?
I would have to go with Jack Hughes, because at one point the Devils scored only 5 goals throughout the course of the playoffs. Like, this was like in Game 3 at this point. So the Devils had 5 goals in the series total, and Jack Hughes was responsible for 3/5 of them. So it hasn't been perfect for Jack Hughes, and obviously Nico Hischier has been creating good looks for himself. And I love that he loves to get his teammates involved, but I need Nico Hischier to shoot the puck a little bit more and convert it to goals, because I can't remember the last time that Nico Hischier scored a goal and it leaks over into the regular season towards the end of it, because it's been a while since Nico Hischier has lit the lamp. And then for someone like Jesper Bratt, I don't know where he's been, but he looks a little flustered out there. So the young guys, they got a rude welcoming to the playoffs. Let's just be completely honest. And it hasn't been perfect, but at the same time, you rely on people like Andre Palat. You rely on people like Eric Haula. You rely even on someone like Curtis Lazar, who scored in the previous game. You rely on those veteran pieces who have been there before. And that's what I think has been so vital in this series for the Devils, is that when you see their overall contribution, it's not just like scoring. It's also defense, it's leadership, it's goalie contribution, whatever the case might be. It's all across the board in order to get a collective team win. And I think the biggest surprise in terms of young players, aside from Akira Schmid, is Kevin Ball, because Kevin Ball is the epitome of just being a stay-at-home defenseman kind of person for the New Jersey Devils. And he's been just like handling the Rangers like they're a bunch of rag dolls out there, because he's like 6'6". They try to get under his skin, doesn't work. He's keeping offensive possessions alive. He's contributing a lot on the defensive side of things. He's redirecting shots, blocking shots, whatever the case might be. He's playing that physical brand of hockey on the defensive side of things for the Devils. And we get so caught up in offensive-minded defensemen like Dougie Hamilton or Ryan Graves at times, even one of our highly anticipated prospects in Luke Hughes. But Kevin Ball, especially with the pairing of him and Damon Severson, has been the most consistent defensive pairing throughout the course of the playoffs for the New Jersey Devils. So I think if you look at young guys, yeah, I could just say Jack Hughes and solely Jack Hughes, but I'd be foolish not to mention Kevin Ball. So Kevin Ball and Jack Hughes, in terms of young guys, they have surprised me the most, and they have adjusted well to playoff hockey. But for the most part, it's been the veteran players that the Devils have been relying on to get them consistent contribution.
All right, Game 7 at home. Home teams have struggled a little bit in this series, to say the least. What are the keys for the Devils?
Well, the key is don't get unnecessary penalties, and also just play your brand of hockey. So throughout the course of the year, Devils love to play an east-west style of hockey. They like to get out and run. They like to make those stretch passes. They like to do this. They like to do that. And sometimes the Rangers have been able to clog up those lanes. But the one thing that I like that the Devils did in period number 1 is that they were tracking the puck on the back check. They attacked in the defensive end, and they were all over the puck. And so even though the final moments of that period didn't exactly go the way of the New Jersey Devils, because Chris Kreider did score on the power play, that first period did belong to the New Jersey Devils. So you need to stick to what you know in order to come out victorious in Game 7. And if it's not working, you got to adapt, something that the Devils have been doing throughout the course of the series, because the Rangers haven't made it easy. But at the same time, when the Rangers tried to run east-west, the only line that was consistently giving the Devils trouble when the Rangers tried to run that style of hockey was the kid line in Heidel, in Lafreniere, and Kakko. That was the only line that can really keep up with such a young team like the Devils when the Rangers tried to do that, when it was pointed out during the course of the ESPN broadcast. So for the Devils, stick to your game, limit the turnovers, and also don't get unnecessary penalties, because you don't want to put the Rangers on the man advantage.
All right, y'all. It should be a thrilling game, and good luck to the Devils in that one. Trey, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
You can find me on social media at TreyMatt4, TreyMatt, and the number 4. And you can find Locked On Devils wherever you get your podcast from. We're available on YouTube and all podcast streaming service. And you can follow the show's Twitter page at Locked On Devils.
All right, Trey, thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by a product I literally use every day, AG1 by Athletic Greens. Maybe you're like me, you want to be healthy and eat well, but it's easier said than done. That's no longer the case with AG1. With just one delicious scoop of AG1 in a glass of water each day, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all these things. And it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.